Welcome back to Utah Stories. So we've got on the program with us today Daniel. Is it Bettis? How do you say your name?
Benites.
Benites.
Yep.
From Salsa del Diablo. We discovered him probably 7-8 years ago. The farmers market. If you go to the downtown farmers market, his line is the longest one at the market. It's just incredible salsa. It's always fresh, amazing, delicious. And I wanted to have him on to just talk about the entrepreneur story, how he got his start. So thanks for coming on, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
So tell me, how did you just start tinkering in salsas? Like, how did you start making your own?
Yeah, I mean, it started like 24 years ago. And I would just kind of like a home cook who just loved to experiment, loved to try new things. And I would just make salsas. And my girlfriend at the time, wife now, she got me a salsa book. And I'm like, okay, I'll give this a try. So I started making some of the recipes from there. And then I just started to adjust them a little bit. And I was discovering like, oh, these are a lot better in these adjustments I make. And so I just kept doing that. And then I just started making ones just from whatever I thought. And they tended to turn out really good. And I started bringing them I was working at REI in Seattle at the time. And I started bringing them into work and just giving them to people. And people were go crazy for them. They loved them. And it was just like just a fun thing kind of to do in a lark. Never thought it would go anywhere. Never thought it'd become a business. But yeah, that was kind of how we started.
And then at what point were you like, I'm just going to go do it and make it a business?
Yeah. It was a little more. So we were in Utah at that time. And I was going around the grocery stores trying to figure out like, oh, what are some local companies and wanting to support them. So I tried the different salsas in grocery stores. I go to a bunch of different Mexican restaurants and try them. I wasn't really finding the style I grew up eating. And at the time I was working at REI, and my wife
in Salt Lake.
Yep. Yeah. And my wife had told me like, hey, why don't you just try to sell it and see what happens? You're giving it away. You're losing money on all of this. So I'm like, okay, I'll look into it. So I started at the Bountiful Farmers Market. I started selling salsa there. And then I also sold some at REI. So actually, like, kind of the first round was I would sell the other employees at REI. And I'd had the sheet like, hey, if you want some, put your name down. And like I was selling like 100 salsas a week. I mean, it was going pretty gangbusters right out of the bat. And then we went to the Bountiful Farmers Market because I really wanted to make a connection with a local farmer there. It's a Benites farm. They're out of Bountiful.
Yeah, because I wanted about them.
Yeah, they're awesome. I mean, the family's so cool. Mm-hmm. But I wanted it to source it locally and make that connection so that I could make the best salsa I could possibly make.
That's awesome. And so you grew up in California, is that right?
Yeah, Burbank, California, so Southern California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got to know you over the years, and you recommended, like we said, we like red iguana, blue iguana, like some of the Mexican places. You said, well, go to California or San Diego, try the Mexican restaurants there, and you're going to really discover what's lacking in Utah.
Yeah.
And you were absolutely right. Like, we went to San Diego, and the Mexican food is just so much better. Mm-hmm. Like, we think it's pretty good. It is good. Like, the red iguana is pretty good. And there's other places that are good, like some pretty good taco places. But why is it taking Utah so long to catch up in having good Mexican food?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think that there's like the Utah's own style of Mexican food, and kind of like a Tex-Mex style, and it's more on the sweeter side, and that's more people here are accustomed to that in their palate and their foods. Mm-hmm. So, because that's what I was finding. We'd go to all these Mexican restaurants, and I'd order whatever it is, and the hot salsa and everything was like kind of sweet. And I'm like, why is this so sweet? I'm so used to like savory and spicy. Mm-hmm. And I think that was just like, whenever it came over here, like they adjusted it so that it kind of met that like sweet palate a little bit more. But what I'm finding, especially at the farmers market, you had mentioned that like we're the busiest booth there, which we've been for a while, because so many people that are moving here, that are transplants, and even people that are from here are discovering this kind of new kind of salsa that is savory, is spicy, is really flavorful. And we make like 60 different kinds of salsa, so huge variety. And I'm finding that, people love it.
I like some of the flavors you've got here, pumpkin and a pepper. And how did you decide that you were going to put pumpkin in a salsa?
Yeah, so that one uses the pepita, so organic pumpkin seeds. And I kind of, some of my recipes, I'll like see an ingredient maybe in something else, and it kind of sparks my interest, and I kind of just put it in the back of my brain for a little while. And then as I see something else that I think is going to go together well with that, then I just kind of create it. So that one took a little while. That one I probably had in my brain for about 3 or 4 months, and then I like decided to make it. But it's as far as a seasonal one, it's our most popular seasonal one.
Is it?
Oh my God, people go crazy.
Yeah, and it's like this. Like you started out pretty plain. Like even your packaging was just really simple.
Yeah.
And nothing special. Like this one still has a simple packaging, green chili crema, just like really basic, but it's so good. And I think you just created a bunch of addicts because everybody's lined up, and then when you run out, everybody's freaking out because it's just, where am I going to get it?
Yeah.
And so now you're actually in a lot of places. So you're in Whole Foods and Harmon's, and where else?
Yeah, we're in a bunch of the Macy's, Fresh Markets. We're at The Store. We're at Dick's. We're at Lee's Marketplace. And then we're at kind of some of these like satellite places, like The Market in Park City. We're at a place called Wall Brothers Barn down in Spanish Fork, which I was like kind of hesitant to bring our stuff down there because they reached out to me. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to sell very well in Spanish Fork, but it's like our 3rd best-selling store. It's crazy.
Wow, no kidding.
It's this little barn, and we bring like boxes and boxes of salsa, and it all sells out every week. So
that's great.
Yeah, so pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's just such an awesome story because I think I didn't know that much about the farmers markets till maybe 2009 when we launched the magazine.
Yeah, just
how people get this idea and they see it's not there, it's not represented in the marketplace, and you open up a little 10 by 10 booth. You just try your product, you get to know customers. And it's just this organic way of growing a business. I take it you probably didn't even have any seed capital, or did you?
No.
Just bootstrap the whole thing?
Yeah. We had like my wife's parents helped out with a couple little things, and more like just labor. That was kind of the big one. But yeah, at the beginning, we just did it all ourselves. And over the years, like as we grew, like all of our profits went back into the business. To buy
you kept
vans.
your job for quite a while.
Yeah, I kept my job for like 4 years.
Wow.
So which was insane. It was so hard. Like I was full time for about 3 or 4 years and doing salsa, and like just out of my mind, and had a toddler at the time, and we were just like, oh my gosh, I just can't keep doing this so crazy. So finally, I decided I stepped back a little bit and just did part time, which felt like such a relief. But we just kept growing. Like most years, we were growing 75 to like 100%. So we're pretty much doubling our business every year. And it was, the only way I could sustain it and keep up with it was really like, hey, I need to just quit my job and do this full time.
Yeah. And it was obvious that you would be able to make enough money to make that work by the time you did it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I teach like a business class to kind of new entrepreneurs, and I usually teach it like I want them to be in business for like 2 years or so, because you get a lot of people who start out and they're like, oh, it's kind of like a fun thing, and then once they do it for a little while, they're like, oh my god, this is so hard, and how do I sustain this, and am I gonna make money? So there's a lot of those pieces that really like go into, hey, does this make sense? I know it's fun, I know I love it, but if you're not making money, then it doesn't really matter. Yeah,
it can only remain a hobby, and if you got to keep your job if it's not enough people are going to buy it and like it.
Yeah,
sure. And you've seen that with it seems like salsa places have come and gone in the farmers market, and only a very few have ever broken out and become something big. what do you think it takes to just be able to take it to the next level? Do you need a loan, or do you just need to work your ass off, or how do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, in my case, I'd say like just stubborn and bullheaded like was like a huge piece. Like, oh, I'm not giving up. I'm going to push through, and, I'm going to make this.
Gonna wake up at 5 a.m. again on a Saturday morning and get ready.
Yeah. And I mean, I would finish like a shift at work. I go make salsa till like 1 a.m, then wake up at like 7 and package it. And it's pretty insane. So in my case, I think that's like the biggest thing that really got us, over that hump of like, okay, now we could get in grocery stores. Now we're, making money, and it's profitable. But yeah, I think we get a lot of people at the farmers market, in fact, that are like, oh, this looks like fun. I want to do this. I have a, really great recipe of a sauce or even salsas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm cordial with them, but I know like if someone's like thinks it's going to be like so much fun, and that's a pretty big gap from like the reality of it. So I'm usually like, well, I'll steer them towards resources, but that's probably not the person who's going to like keep doing it for a long time.
It's almost like the people who are the most enthusiastic are going to be the ones to not make it.
I mean, it's
like
so
you
hard.
need to just be nose to the grindstone for so long.
And even sometimes when you're like, oh, we're good, it's you're 5 years in, then you're like, oh, a pandemic, what the heck just happened? So then it's like, wow, you just have to, I mean, it just flips everything, and you have to reevaluate, and you have to like make changes on the fly.
Did COVID help your business or hurt your business?
That's a tricky one. I would say hurt significantly. Our sales, like the first year of COVID, we actually we were 20% up for that year. But before COVID hit, we were like at 120% up.
Oh, wow.
So to finish at 20%.
Because of the farmers markets being shut down.
Yeah, farmers markets and so many things. So we were still we still were up 20%, but we were like on fire at the beginning of that year. So, and then the other piece of it was just the costs of everything, the cost of goods sold, getting containers, whatever it is, that like just shot through the roof. They were, I mean, at one point everything was like 50 to 100% more expensive, and I'm like, we can't. This is not sustainable.
I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
It was like all of a sudden our paper prices just doubled.
Yeah.
And our printer's like, we can't get paper.
Yeah.
So if you want to print, because there's not enough, you just got to pay double.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we can't afford that. And then we're just like, well, what do we do? So everybody, I think you either cut production.
Yeah.
Or you raise prices significantly, and I guess you had to do a combination of both. I mean, your salsa is still really affordable. You didn't double your prices, right?
Yeah, we raised them a little bit, but I really try to keep them as affordable as possible. I mean, luckily, a lot of those like prices came down, which is nice. But we had actually that same time we kind of had the double whammy of like California's drought with COVID. So like. It's like, do you want to pay double for tomatoes? Do you need any? And of course, that's such a core of our product line.
Yeah.
So we did some cost cutting things, and we like tried to focus a little bit more on what's more profitable to us. But it's pretty tricky.
It just totally has to change your whole business model, I think. But I want to try these, but we've got Brian in studio too. Would you be able to hang on till after? Yeah, I think he's going to be on for 15 minutes to talk about flooding, and we'll go through all the products, because I want to talk about each of these products and go over some of the main things you're doing.
Okay.
Because they're amazing, and I think everybody, if you haven't tried them already, you got to try them. But we're going to take a little break, and when we get back, we're going to talk to Brian McInerney. I hope I'm saying it right, McInerney or McInerney. But it's about all of the snowpack that we have in the mountains. We have 32 inches of water, and it has to get down the mountain. It's going to come either slow or fast. And so we're going to be talking about what to expect in the next 30 days with the floods. I talked to Brian almost 12 years ago. He retired from his job at National Weather Service, and he's come out of retirement to help the county deal with the flood problems that we've got on hand. So it's going to be a great little interview. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back.